Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. On this segment of Ask Dr. D, we're going to be talking about some dating challenges. And I've had a few people write in, mostly around fears and anxiety around dating, that first date. And then another question that was posed to me was, what to do with some romantic feelings that you may have towards a friend. So let's dive right in. The first question, actually a two-part question. First, they wanted to know how can they move through or work through their fears about asking someone out. And then once they have that initial date, how can they become less anxious around that first date? So I think those are two great questions. And I feel that with COVID, I think that we've all become because we've been so isolated, I think some of our skills and how we feel about dating and our interpersonal relationship stuff, I think that that's really to some degree taken a hit because we've been, not around people. And now that the world is opening up, thankfully, and we're getting back into the dating game and doing all those things, I think it's pretty common for more people or just people in general to have more fear and anxiety around dating. So the first question was how to become less fearful around asking someone out. And I think that most of the fears that people have, or the fear that people have around dating, is predominantly related to the fear of rejection, because nobody really wants to be rejected. And no one really wants to hear a no. They want people to say yes to them all the time. But in truth, we get to reject and we get to be rejected. And I think that once people start to recognize that the possibility of rejection is there, then maybe acknowledging that and recognizing that this is a pretty normal thing for people to feel. And so most of us feel that way around the fear of rejection. So let's just normalize that. And so how do you become less fearful around asking someone out? And like I said, first it's just kind of accepting the possibility that you could be rejected, and that, the more that we do something, the more we become comfortable, right? But that's really with anything in life. And the more that we do something, the more we feel more confident in it, and we recognize, wow, I can really move through this fear that I'm having. And that really goes the same with dating, so that the more you do it, the easier hopefully it becomes, and the more you feel comfortable putting yourself out there, because that's really what you're doing. You're putting yourself out there and risking this person may or may not say yes to me. And so when someone says no to you, and people really feel, they personalize it a lot, at least that's been my experience working with people, it's not necessarily true. I mean, it could be that they have different preferences, or maybe they're in a different place in their life, or maybe they want different things, or it could be their personality, it could be a challenge that they're experiencing at that time. So the more important thing is not to make it all about you and personalize it, but to put it in broader context. And maybe there's another reason why this person said no to you. Because if you think about yourself, for example, and you say no to somebody, it could be why. Maybe for your own reasons, right? The preferences, or you're in a different place, you don't think it's going to be a good fit. And so I think that when we can do that, and when we can reverse that and say, oh, I've been able to do that before, I've said no before, and these are the reasons why. So you normalize and recognize people feel this way, and they have a lot of fear around dating, and to know that you're not alone. And then the more that you do it, the more comfortable you become, the more resilient you become, and also you become more brave, right? You can also become more confident because you're doing it more and more. And then, of course, like I just said, to recognize it's not always about you, that there could be another reason why this person has said no to you. And, just do it and have a little fun and put yourself out there. And then you wanted to ask me another question, and you asked me, once I have that date, how can I reduce my anxiety around that first date? And I think that's a great question too. And I'm going to go back to the same thing which I just said, was that, you're in good company, because lots of people have a lot of anxiety around that first date. So we talk about, okay, so really what is that first date? Where are you going? Are you going to go out for coffee? You're going to meet out somewhere? It's going to be something after work? Are you going to, really what are your thoughts? And when you think about planning that first date so that you can have that to look forward to, it's really about like where you're going, right? So you really want to go to a place where you feel comfortable. Maybe you've been there before, maybe you know how to get there, or you can always ask a friend, ask someone like, where's a good place to meet? And then when you become familiar with that location, and you know physically how you're going to get there, whether you're taking a train, or you're driving, or you're walking, whatever you're doing, when we know where we're going and maybe we're familiar with that place, we've heard of that place, it makes us much more comfortable, right? Rather than walking into a brand new place and not really knowing anything about it. So do that, right? First, you want to plan the date, make it simple, make it fun, don't overcomplicate it. Think about, is there a place maybe that person's interested in? And then you can investigate that a little bit on your own if you haven't been there, or if you've been somewhere and you want to return to that place because you're really familiar with that place, that's also really good to do as well. And another way to manage your anxiety is to, when you're preparing for that day, think about like, what do you want to talk about and why you're interested in this person, and how can you ask like interesting questions that also demonstrate that you're curious about this person. So maybe you want to be thinking about, what kind of things do I want to talk about, and what do I really want to share with this person? And so sometimes when we think about the plan, we visualize the plan, maybe we visualize going there and sitting there and being with that person or asking them questions. That also brings us a level of comfort as well and helps reduce our anxiety. So kind of planning that, or maybe during the day before you get ready, you're going to play some like fun or funky music, or you're going to put some music on that's calming. You can also do some deep breathing, maybe talk to a friend, but do some things that are really going to calm you down and really access that part of our nervous system that helps us for rest and relaxation. And because the excitement, right, the anxiety is really like a nervous excitement, right? You're nervous and you're also excited, and so these are very natural things for people to feel. And so they want to be like, oh my God, I don't want to be going there and just be all over the place. So like I said, like having a plan and deciding how you're going to spend that time leading up to the date, how you're going to keep yourself calm. And then when you also start to visualize it, it really does, like when we visualize something in our home, like when we're safe, right? Then we can actually watch ourselves in a movie or something, get a little anxious. And then we can also watch ourselves calm ourselves down. And that also helps to decrease our anxiety. So that the more that you do that, the more you put yourself out there, the more you're using skills or strategies that you have to calm yourself down, the easier it does become over time. I think that there's always that anticipatory anxiety or excitement that we all experience, and so that is very normal. But I think when people just kind of keep it simple and have some fun and don't overcomplicate it and have a plan, that will help reduce some of your anxiety. So for the person that wrote in, I hope that helps, and good luck. Let's move on to the next question. And this person wrote in because they are having some romantic feelings for a friend of theirs, and they are trying to figure out what they want to do with these feelings, because they're trying to figure out how they're going to talk about it or figure it out without jeopardizing the friendship, which I think is a great question as well. I think there's a lot of people that find themselves in these situations and they're contemplating, what do I do? Because I think the most important thing, and when you're figuring this out, is you have to recognize that if you say something that you might lose the friendship, and you have to ask yourself, are you willing to risk it? But before we get there, let's back up a couple of moments. So first I would ask you who wrote into me, do you have anybody you can talk to, like a good friend that you can kind of just run some thoughts through? Maybe that person knows that person in a different way. Maybe that person could provide you a different type of perspective. Because sometimes when we're like in the middle of and we have all these feelings about somebody, we can't always see what's hiding in plain sight. So that person might be able to help you even more, just to kind of hear what you have to say and provide like a different context in it, and to help you think about things that maybe you didn't think about before. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing is like I would be wondering like where you are in your life right now. I mean, what are you looking for? And are these like new feelings that you're having, or have these feelings been there for a while? How long have you been friends? What has this person shared with you? I would ask you, have they expressed anything too, or do you, not really express, but do you feel something back from them, right? Do you think that it might be reciprocated? And so when you're starting to think about your feelings, you're starting to take into account like what's important to you, where you're at, how do things align between you and this other person, what's the history of the relationship, and what would you want to say to that person? And if you did say something to that person and they were not interested in having a relationship with you, how would you feel about how that relationship or that friendship was going to shift. Now, sometimes you might express something and the person would be okay, and they might be a little uncomfortable, most likely, especially if they're not going to return the favor or the feelings, and then it might take a little bit of time for that person to process that and get back on track. And friends do get back on track. I think it's really about how you lead, what you're going to say, and how you're going to recover if something happens. And then I think it's important to think about, are you willing to not have that person in your life if, for example, they were really surprised by that and are now uncomfortable being around you. So I think that before you say something, think about these questions and think about the answers to these questions, and think about, where you're at, and, what kind of relationship would it be, or what kind of things stand out for you. And if the person does say no and they're not interested, where would that lead you, I should say, at the very end. So I think that those are some things that maybe to really ponder. And going back to, maybe having a support system, or having like another friend or friends that you can talk to, because like I said, maybe they know something that you don't know, or maybe they've done that before. They want to be able to share some of their experiences. So I think that would be a really good start for you before you make a decision. And I hope that helps. So that's it. I think that right now, I think for a lot of people that are back into the dating world, I think there's a lot of things going on. People read a lot of things. I think that's terrific, and different books and blogs and articles. And I think sometimes it can be confusing, but I just hope that, answering these questions, and people that are listening, maybe they helped you as well. I'm not sure, but hopefully they did. And as always, we would love to hear from you. Please shoot me a message below on my YouTube station or channel, I should say, or, you can always email me at hello@kristendavin.com. Look for me up on Instagram, Dr. K. Davin. And I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask me, and I would be happy to help to answer them for you. And thanks again.